Ready.
Okay.
Come.
Okay, we'll be introducing our speaker. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She's a therapist, consultant, a frequent contributor to Lafayette Mom. And most
Wow.
recently, she was interviewed by 337 magazine for the article Coping Through the Chaos, a look at mental health during the pandemic. She's a mother of 2 boys. Let's welcome Miss Natalie Bunner. Yay.
Hi guys.
Real quick,
Oh,
Natalie,
yeah.
I want to explain when you might see comments of nosebleed.
Okay.
That's if they're a native Tagalog speaker,
Uh-huh.
they're concentrating so hard on English that it causes them to nosebleed.
Okay.
Not literally, but it's a common joke. Just saying, like, you know,
It's so intense.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So you just keep talking and teaching. We'll catch up and translate, or Christina might help out with the point by explaining Tagalog.
Okay.
But thank you for having us, and thank you for coming on this morning.
It's
and
my
this
pleasure.
Yeah. So we're talking about mental health this morning and how to cope with anxiety and stress. It's a very pertinent topic today during this time. The entire world is going through a pandemic. And on top of that, many of us are parents. We have the normal stresses of life that we're dealing with. And so this is a very, very relevant topic that we're talking about today. And that's why we're so honored that you had agreed to talk with us. And now you can add to your impressive list of international speaker and trainer.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So how was your weekend, Miss Natalie?
It was good. Speaking of stress and managing anxiety, the week before had been pretty stressful here with school starting and, building, my private practice. And there's a lot of, things going on. And so this weekend, we were very intentional about not taking on any extra duties. So we spent time at home with the family. We did, movies and popcorn and, really simple things that we don't do every day, but allows us a little bit of space to breathe and just kind of enjoy being in the present, because I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like us to jump right into our topic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first we're going to kind of define some, I guess you can say, coping techniques on how to deal with the stress and anxiety. So let's define, what does self-care mean to you?
For me, self-care, I think that self-care has probably 100 different definitions, depending on where you live in the world and kind of what your environment considers to be, daily obligations or familial obligations. But for me, self-care is anything that you do that helps you find balance in your physical, mental, and emotional state. And so there's no one way to self-care. However, if the activity helps you feel grounded in yourself, it releases dopamines that, helps you feel more sense of happiness, joy, or it brings down your stress levels and your anxiety levels when you're doing the activity, I consider that a self-care activity. So it's supposed to improve your mood. If you're doing something that makes you feel settled in yourself, that makes you feel, a little more balanced, and you don't feel as nervous or worried, I feel like that would be considered self-care.
Okay, so self-care is a good technique to use to help balance and, in a way, help control or manage the day-to-day stress and anxiety that we have.
Right.
So can you tell me growing up, how many brothers and sisters did you have? Are you the oldest or the youngest?
I come from a large family, in American terms, a large family. I have 5 brothers and a sister. So I was the oldest of 7. And from a very young age, I was learning what it meant to care for other people. So it's not uncommon in the States for the oldest to take on responsibilities in the home to assist their parents, helping with the cleaning of the house and the caring of the kids, and also like the emotional care of the kids, because 7 kids for one parent is a lot. And so you learn to assist with that by caring for your siblings with your parents. So that was a huge part of growing up. It was not uncommon to be the only, to be all kids at home. And my job was to care for them while my parents, maybe they were working, or they had, an event that they had to attend, or, they just stepped out for dinner with the 2 of them, which I fully value as a parent myself. So, I completely understand the value of stepping away sometimes from the family and doing something for yourself. But that was part of my growing up. And so caring for others was a huge part of who I am. And that was the part that was taught to me from an early age. I think what was not taught to me from an early age, in fact, I didn't learn this until I became an adult, was the value of caring for yourself. And so I learned over the years that caring for yourself is not just, personal hygiene, or, taking care of your physical body, but it's also about taking care of your mental self and your emotional self, and even your spiritual self. And I feel like that was a lesson that I learned as I grew up into adulthood, that I think is an important lesson that we learn much earlier, and also to learn it in a way that can be used, when your kids are young also. And the best way to do that is modeling it, So growing up in a big family, caring for others was just the way we lived. And that was just an understanding that you care for others sometimes before you care for yourself, which, I've learned over the years is not the healthiest way. The healthiest way to live emotionally and mentally. I think that there is a way for you to care for your family, your community, and still be healthy as an individual.
Okay, so you were the oldest, and then
yeah.
I don't think I knew that, but I'm learning. That's good. I'm learning already. We just started.
So, and 5 brothers. I mean, I was the oldest of 5 brothers. So that, that was a very interesting dynamic, just because, you learn at a very early age that you have to have a certain level of strength if you're going to survive 5 boys in the family. So that was always an interesting, aspect of it. And then I eventually became, Queen Natalie. And they understood, if we all want to get along, you must pay homage to the queen.
Oh,
and that's how it is. It's still like that to this day. I mean, we're all adults, and they still take care of me. Yeah.
I'm the only girl out of 6 also, so I have 5 brothers. So growing up like that, it's for me it was like challenging, because I don't know how to. It's like when you're a woman. No, you can do it. It's better. It's being a woman or like a girl growing up is like you're like emotional,
Yeah.
and it's hard to to connect to your brothers.
Mhm.
So it was for me. I grew up like independent, like
Mhm.
I just have to just connect to other people other than my brother or something like that, because it's could you say that?
I think culturally, maybe the
It's different.
mindset
Oh.
of responsibilities might be different, but I think the same goes throughout whatever culture is. There's a protective nature that brothers have when you're the only girl. Might
Mhm.
be too much protection,
Yeah.
to where you feel like a prisoner, if you will. But
Yeah.
it's done in the right heart, I guess.
Right. Christina, were you the oldest?
No, like third,
So you were kind of in the middle?
the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that makes a difference, because in my case, I think that me being the oldest and them always looking up to me for care was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. That
My
was,
sister, my sister's the baby. It was like me and then 5 boys and then her. She was
oh.
the baby. And so the way they treated her was much different from the way they treated me. And when you made the comment about them being a little too much protected, I think that she experienced that more than I did.
Oh, because you're the eldest, that's why they
Yeah.
treat you like that.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it, because they, I think they were protected from a place of like, do you need me to show up if something happens, But with my sister, I think it was more, we're going to be there to make sure nothing happens, that you're protected in whatever, especially with like boyfriends and, those things. She just didn't have a chance, poor thing, because they were so there, I didn't experience that as much.
So, Natalie, growing up, do you feel, even as the oldest, did that shape the direction you when it came to deciding a major in college and what to study, or was it just a natural fit when you started choosing what you wanted to do full time in life?
Well, it shaped it, but not in the way that you would think, because I grew up in a large family. By the time it was time for college, my thought pattern was, I do not want to have kids. Because it was so many kids and there's only so much space, and you could only, like, in our house, the only place where you could have like uninterrupted time to yourself was like, you would go and sit in a dry bathtub and like read a book, and they would think you're using the bathroom, but that's the only way they wouldn't disrupt you.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, when I went to college, I was just like, I don't want to have anything to do with anything related to children. And I went to school and got a degree in communication, and I was going to go into journalism. And while I was working on my first degree, I needed a job, and a friend of mine was working in a residential facility for children. And I was thinking, oh, I don't think I'm going to like that, but I really need a job. So I will go and work part-time to pay my bills and finish college. And that was the life-changing moment for me that shifted me from what I thought I wanted to do and to what I have, decided was my life calling. And that was working with kids. And I think being raised in a huge family and understanding the nuances of kids and how kids relate to each other and all of those things. And also just kind of looking back and saying, oh, I wish that I had someone who listened to me when I felt these feelings, and, or this is what I wish we had in my childhood growing up. And I was blessed with great parents that cared for me, but you always look back and wish that there were certain things that were different. And so that really is what changed me. And that's when I met you, Paul.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because we I was working at a facility for pregnant teens and teen moms in the company, and there was another facility for children who had been, taken from their parents due to a lot of things. And that's when I met Paul. So that was when I realized that, maybe I should do for these kids what I wish someone would have done for me. And it kind of changed, my path from, becoming the next Oprah, which is what I wanted to become,
Wow.
to becoming, a therapist that works with kids and adults that work with kids, so that's kind of what brought me there. It's interesting how life does that. It just kind of shifts you,
Mm-hmm.
And being that you originally wanted to get into journalism, I think nowadays people more than ever are realizing we do have a voice. You don't just have to be on the networks or TV or radio. Everyone has a voice or a platform wherever they are. And sometimes what you run away from is actually what's trying to chase you down and is your true calling. So
Absolutely.
it seems to all work out when you're called to do something. You can only run away for so long before you're going to get tired and it'll catch up with you.
Yeah. Well, and especially with, when I remember 2 weeks after I started working with the pregnant teen and teen mothers at the residential facility that they were at, I remember calling my mom after two of the clients got into a fight. And I remember we were in public and like it was like a huge deal. And I remember calling my mom and saying, I just love you. And I don't know if I've given you any trouble as an adolescent, but I am so sorry because I have realized how much work it takes to manage kids. And I mean, I grew up managing kids, I grew up managing my siblings, and at one point I had cousins at my home and like I was the oldest. And so I was like the surrogate parent, but realizing that, it takes a lot of effort to parent. It takes a lot of effort to raise children. And it kind of really shifted my understanding about what my mom might have been experiencing when you're dealing with multiple kids at a time, and so it really just gave me a new appreciation. And then it gave me a new appreciation for what these kids might be experiencing, so it really did have a huge impact on what I decided to do. And I don't regret it. I'm glad. I love it.
So we've defined what self-care is.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to talk about why do you think self-care is so difficult in practice to just accept that is something we could use?
Well, I'll use myself as an example for that because this is something that's part of my almost daily, conversation with clients and in my writings about being mindful and being present and being able to look at the day and find opportunities to kind of rebalance ourselves. However, when it's time to put it into practice, it might be a little easier to say than to do. And for me, the challenge has been kind of filling my day, every little part of my day with something, and then kind of running through my day and then feeling very stressed and realizing that I didn't give myself any space to self-care. And as I said earlier, self-care can be an hour, but self-care can be 5 minutes. Self-care could be a 60-second meditation. It doesn't have to be these huge gaps of time, but there are times when I find that I've placed so many obligations in the day that I didn't give any space for self-care. And I think that that's a very common one, is not allowing yourself the space to do it.
I think we have to believe that we're worth it too. I mean,
Absolutely.
as parents, I may need new shoes, but I'm like, do I want to spend it on diapers, which seems very practical, or
Right.
am I worth it to use shoes, which I use every single day?
Right.
We have to feel that we are worth, at least we're worth it, and then we can move forward with that.
I agree with that.
So, Natalie, do you have some self-care tips that maybe at the end of this talk that we can go home and try to incorporate into our daily life?
Yes, and like I said, there's a ton of them that can be used. It's just a matter of prioritizing it, and like you said, being able to make the time to do it. One of the things that we have to remember that self-care is supposed to help us balance our mental and emotional and spiritual life, right? And so one of the things that we can do, and I feel that anyone that has a spirituality can do this, is a mindful moment in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And that might look different for, different for us. Some people like to spend, a lot of time in it. Maybe they have a specific time of day that they like to do it. Maybe they are, have a specific process that they like to do it in. But prayer is a nice way of helping us either start the day or balance the day or end the day with gratitude. And I feel like self-care goes a long way in building gratitude. So when we are in prayer, for example, and we're able to say that we are grateful for the things that we have, for the people in our lives, for what we are going to do that day, or what we did that day, or the safety and protection of our family, I think that it goes a long way to provide us with a little bit of space that helps us understand that we are in a very healthy and good place. It kind of reminds us that we're in a healthy, good place. And it also reminds us of our value, both internally and also externally, So I think that that's one good way to do it for sure. You want me to give you multiple ways? Because I could give you.
I like on the prayer point, when I was just thinking about it, there is a verse in the Bible. I looked it up, 1 Peter 5:7, saying, "Cast all your cares upon him, for he careth for you."
Absolutely.
And being in the Navy, they say, cast off the lines. It was one of the commands. We were moored next to the pier. We could not leave until we cast off the lines. And so many times in life, we're moored onto something, a weight, a burden, luggage. We've heard of the term emotional baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And until we cast off that and set it aside or give it to someone else that may help with that load, we can't move forward in the day or in the mental process of the day. So that verse ministered to me about just casting off your cares. When you think about it, some of the things we worry about, and then when it's over, it wasn't really as big as we made it.
Right, absolutely.
We realized that one thing we were a stumbling block, it was really nothing in the scheme of things. It was maybe important in your house, but it didn't really matter in life. So
right.
I think on prayer, if we can learn to cast off things that really don't matter, we can move forward. So that is a good thing for self-care, is prayer. Just getting the inside of you right, so that you can accept the other things and that to know that you're worth it.
Right.
So do you have another tip you'd like to give us?
Well, the other tip that I was going to explore, it could be connected to that, because some people tie prayer and this together, just to kind of help them get into a healthy mind state to pray. But one of the other things that you can do is the use of music. And music is one of those things that allows us to be uniquely moved, in that what type of music one person might like may not be the type of music that another person might like, but there's kind of something for everyone. And I would say music by itself is nice, but not healthcare. I mean, not safe care, self care by itself. Okay. Because self care is mindful, which means we're doing it with intention. But when you're listening to music in a way that allows you to slow down and meditate on something outside of your anxiety, outside of the environment, outside of things that might cause you stress, music and the rhythm of music can have a very healthy effect on how you move forward in your day. These are one of those, one of those self-care activities that may not take an hour. It may take one song, but just to take the moment to move in the song, to allow the song and you to be the only two things that matter in that moment can go a long way to help you strike balance in your day and help you recenter in your day. I use music a lot. I also use silence a lot. And so that's also as important. So it's being able to use either or, but the point always being that it's supposed to bring calm, it's supposed to improve your mood, and it's supposed to help you rebalance from the stressors of your day. So that's definitely one that I use a lot, Paul.
It's kind of like an onion. This is you're getting the layers that you need. Prayer and then music. You're getting yourself right.
Mm-hmm.
We've all flown a lot, and one of the safety announcements that the stewardess they make is if the cabin loses pressure, the oxygen mask will fall down. And they say put the mask on you first, and then if you have kids, put it on them.
Absolutely.
Because you can't help anyone if you're not right.
That's right.
I mean, literally, you can't breathe until you put on the oxygen. Then you can help others. So you got to get yourself right before you can help others. And this is a good process through prayer and music that gets you in the right mood to start receiving the things and the realization that you are worth it and you can.
I can speak in Tagalog, right?
She's gonna ram home the point in Tagalog. So
that's fine.
Okay, yung point or yung key points na shinare ni Miss Natalie is yung number one is yung prayer, which I know that everyone. I'd like that better.
Oh, okay.
This everyone is nagpe-pray naman, right? So, 'di ba pagka nagpe-pray kasi tayo, nandun yung lalo pagka like before we go to bed, we pray. And then, or any time of the day, you can pray, especially when you're like worried, when you're stressed, like that. Well, I normally do that. I go to the CR, which the most quiet place on
restroom.
CR, comforter room, restroom, the bathroom. So I go there and then just pray. I turn on the shower and then just pray out loud. Or what I do is I go drive and then and then just pray and then just think. And then second yung shinare ni Miss Natalie is yung about music or listening to music. Napaka-importante yon and napaka-importante kung anong klaseng music ang pinapakinggan natin. Kasi di ba music are very powerful. Actually, it's a higher form of praying.
Mm-hmm.
Yung kasi di ba tayo kasi mahilig tayong lalo sa mga Filipino like not really most Filipino loves music and we felt like we are the best singer in the world. We sing out loud like we do some karaoke in the Philippines.
I love it.
Like loud, like the whole city could hear it.
That's lovely.
Yeah, even if it doesn't sound not so beautiful, so we just sing, and we love singing. So as part of our self-care, yun nga, we can use that as pero dapat i-check natin or we need to choose the right music kasi di ba minsan kasi kumakanta tayo ng kung ano-ano diyan and alam natin na actually ang music ay ginagamit din ng enemy to you can explain that later. Okay. na tawag dito na to na maging bad tayo, gano'n. Kasi may mga music na may mga kung ano mga lyrics, gano'n. So, yun yung mga ano. So, ang isang ano na ginagawa ko, ang pinapakinggan ko every now and then yung mga praise and worship songs or yung mga inspirational songs, gano'n. I don't know about that.
I think you covered it. You covered it in English. Now you can see how we can get nosebleed from.
I was like, I'm picking up little things.
You can hear the English to kind of keep you on track of what she's saying.
That's right. That's exactly right.
What I do is just to share something. What I do when I'm really, really stressed, I just turn on the music and just sing loud and then I could, especially when I listen to praise and worship song, it really makes me feel so good and feel at peace and all that. That's what I do. Like I close the door and then just sing.
You tell the kids, no, mommy's having her time. Just
give mama space to self-care, because that's exactly what you're doing.
She'll come out back again as Wonder Woman when she's done.
That's right. But so, that's the beauty of it is that you're using it. You're naturally finding those self-care moments that makes you feel rejuvenated, that makes you feel right, and that's the whole goal. So I say sing on.
Yes.
What I like is the two tips you gave us, they're absolutely free to do.
Yeah.
Prayer is free. So no matter what status you're at in life, prayer is free.
Yeah.
Music is free too. At least when you're singing, that's a free thing to do. Mm-hmm. These are two free things to do that will help you become a better you.
Absolutely.
So moving on, do you have another tip that you can give us to help us continue in our growth?
Well, this is another free self-care activity, mm-hmm. and that's moving our bodies. That's taking a walk. That's taking a run. That's, stretching, any kind of physical movement that brings that balance to you. Everybody is not huge into working out or exercising, but it doesn't have to be that level of movement. It's a movement that brings you joy. It's a movement that brings you peace. During COVID, the COVID shelter in place here in the States, where we couldn't really go anywhere, movement by walking through the neighborhood was a very huge self-care activity for me and my family, right? Because we were able to physically move our bodies around in a space that was safe and comfortable, and at the same time, bring some relief to the stress of the experience and bring some anxiety, down, and get the physical movement that helps us, stay healthy. And so when we think about self-care, we understand that self-care is good for our mental, emotional, and physical self. And so taking a walk, it doesn't even have to be, a huge walk around the city, but just taking a walk, something very simple. It's basic. But if we do it with intention, it can have a very big positive effect on how we feel. Absolutely.
Yeah. As a couple, when I know at the height of this pandemic where you felt the world was closing in, me and Christina, and as a family, we would go walk, mm-hmm. get out of the house, mm-hmm. also just being next to someone that you love. There's that connection. It's a scheduled, not task, but it's a scheduled activity, mm-hmm. that you get to do that to be honest, I would look forward to it. I was looking outside, waiting for that shade to hit just right, and you get the sun. Mm-hmm. And then slowly but surely you'd see other neighbors starting to walk.
Yeah.
We would stay on the opposite sides of the street because at that time you didn't know what was going to happen,
Absolutely.
Hey, stay on your side. But
that's right.
I mean, that's also fear, how you could see fear can creep in and blow things out of proportion. But we were safe and we did enjoy the walking. And I like how the top 3 things you mentioned, they're all free to do.
Absolutely.
So when they're free, it's almost like there's no excuse not to do it. So,
And it doesn't always take long. That's the other thing. I think that most people that struggle with self-care is time and money,
yes.
right? It takes time or it takes money. And these three things, it doesn't take a lot of time and it doesn't take any money, but it does allow you to take care of yourself.
Great. So
One more thing.
Okay.
Paul. You mentioned planning, that you guys kind of planned to take those walks, and I think that's a huge point of self-care. Is that self-care is something that you should plan ahead if you can, because if you don't plan ahead, then you will just find yourself kind of grabbing at anything that's going to make you feel okay in the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're truly self-caring, then you're going to plan to have those moments to yourself, or that brings balance to you. So that was a very good point.
On a toddler note, when I let my son know, you'll get some ice cream as a reward if that's a planned activity. It keeps him in check.
Absolutely.
Like, it keeps him in his own lane. So I do like the planned activity. Your mind might start drifting, and then, oh no, we're going walk, and then you're correct.
We use popsicles for that, Paul. we would take the walk. That was part of the walk. Was like we would get popsicles and we would go take a walk. So it's kind of like, if they didn't really want to take a walk, they really did like the popsicles. So it's just like, go choose your popsicle so we can go take a walk. So it was just kind of like,
you can drip all you want.
That's right. It's great. Absolutely.
So, moving on, do you have another tip you can give us that could help in our emotional tool bag?
Absolutely. So this is one that I give to my clients a lot, because I think that part of the stress and the anxiety that we experience is that all of the thoughts and all of the concerns and the worries are like in our brain. And so it's kind of hard for you to deal with them when they're just in here. So one of the self-care activities that I find works very well for so many people, and that's virtually free, is journaling. And that's just writing down your thoughts and your feelings in a journal of some kind, in a notebook, or something, something to that regard. Because it allows you to get all of the thoughts out of your head onto paper, and it helps you better deal with what you might be experiencing. Journaling doesn't have to take a ton of time. Some people love to write, and so they might write, pages in a journal. But one of the uses that we do with journals is just to write code words or code sentences, like, what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? Where is an area that you want to grow? So it's like 3 sentences. It takes 30 seconds, but it still kind of helps you balance out where you are versus where you want to be. And it allows you to kind of focus in the present instead of worrying about what happened in the past or being worried about what's going to happen in the future. It builds this ability to be mindful. And so I find that journaling, writing in the journals, identifying things that you're grateful for, because just like prayer, it reminds you of where you really are versus where you think you are. I think it's highly important, and it does have a very positive effect on your mind and your spirit and your emotional self when you can look back and see in the journal, wow, I had some good things happen to me this week because I've been journaling them. And that goes a long way. So journaling is a very effective way to self-care.
When I was in the Navy, there was a point where we were up an extended long time. We were actually sleeping on the ground outside to be ready for an event. And at the time in my life, it was like the hardest thing that I had to do. And I remember writing that down. And then another time, I wrote down when, like in college, I had to write like a 10-page essay or something. And at the time, 10 pages on one topic. And I wrote that down. Now, I can look back and remember those events and think it's not that bad or it's not that hard. So I even wrote down things that weren't pleasant, but then you realize you put all this negative connotation on something that really wasn't that bad, and you made it through. So it's almost like you championed that moment and you conquered it.
Absolutely.
It's good to focus on the good, but I also wanted to show myself, look what you went through and look what you conquered. So, I mean, those are the biggest events at that time, and they pale in comparison to actual things. So I don't know if it was by design, but I didn't notice that this is also another free activity, just writing down in a journal, just recording something that you can look back and thank God, thank a person. It can remind you that just thank you. And that's another release. It's one of the forms of creativity is writing.
Mm-hmm.
You develop a talent that you didn't know when you start reading, like, oh, that sounds good. And you can put those notes together and maybe get a song out of it, a book out of it.
Absolutely.
That's how it starts. It releases something in your brain that it's positive.
Right.
So for time, we're gonna go. Do you have one last tip that we could use to help us?
Sure. So one of the things, I hear debate. One of the things that is, and this is also a free thing, and the reason why these were chosen was because it eliminates the argument that it has to cost money or that it has to take a lot of time. One of the things that I think is also a very healthy self-care moment is alone time. I think that especially in our environments where we spend a lot of time caring for other people and caring for, our communities and caring for our environment, and the focus is on us caring for other people. I think that self-care also includes some alone time so that we can care for ourselves. And that alone time is important because it gives us the space to check in with ourselves and see how we're doing, and kind of reflect on any challenges that we may be facing, and gives us the opportunity to consider what solutions might be in the space to help us deal with things that cause us stress and anxiety. And so alone time is something that is not always promoted in our society. And so we're made to feel a little guilty that we're taking that alone time, but it's powerful time for us to kind of reset ourselves and ground ourselves and provide ourselves with a little bit of grace, because we work very hard and we're very diligent in caring for our families and our communities and caring for our work and all of those things. But it is very important that we care for ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't truly take care of the people around us. And so that alone time gives us the opportunity to do that. And there's no wrong way to do alone time, as long as it fulfills you and it helps your emotional and mental self be healthy and whole. So that's definitely one that I would give.
Well, we do appreciate you giving these 5 tips to help us with self-care.
Absolutely.
Now, I'd like to just go to what?
Let me translate.
Oh, she's going to translate.
Okay. So the first one was yung prayer, tapos makinig ng music, tapos yung pangatlo na shinare ni Miss Natalie is yung go for a walk. Ayan nga, napaka-importante yung as in actually yung walking pa lang is it's a great way of exercising. And pag nag-exercise kasi tayo, meron tayong nare-release. Dopamine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it dopamine?
Dopamine, yeah. It's a chemical in the body that makes you feel happiness.
Yeah. Yun, pagka nag-exercise ka, meron kang nire-release na chemical sa katawan mo na ang tawag doon is dopamine, na it makes you happy. You can mapapansin mo yan pag ikaw ay nag-exercise. After mag-exercise ka, you feel really great about yourself. At the same time, it's very healthy, right? So, kailangan natin ng exercise, and that's another way of another self-care. Yung pang-apat is yung journaling. Ito yung sinusulat mo yung mga sa akin kasi ang ginagawa ko is sinusulat ko yung mga yung mga kung ano yung pinagpapasalamatan ko, ganun, I thank you Lord, thank God for this, thank you. Yung parang ang tawag doon, yung count your blessings. Yung instead na nakafocus ka dun sa mga hindi magagandang mangyari, lalo sa nangyayari ngayon, instead na mag-focus ka dun is you have to focus on the things that na ipagpapasalamat natin kay Lord, right? So yung tipong instead na kasi the more na nakapag-focus tayo sa sa mga negatibo na nangyayari sa paligid natin, pag nag-focus tayo sa mga blessings natin, magugulat ka talaga na mababago yung yung emotion mo, ganon, you feel very happy kasi makikita mo na napaka-bless mo pala, ganon. Yun, 'di ba? Lagi kong sinishare sa inyo about count your blessings, not your problems. Yun yung napaka-powerful na self-care. And it really release yung talagang stress sa katawan natin kasi the more na naka-focus kasi tayo sa mga ganda, yung mga positivity sa life natin. And yung pang-5, ito yung alone time, ito yung lang, pupunta ka, mag-shopping mag-isa, ganun, alone time. Depende kasi sa atin, magkakaiba tayo ng me time, yung tawag natin doon is yung me time, di ba? So, ang gagawin natin is we can actually set a time of the day or time of sa schedule in a week na mag-isa ka lang na nakapag-isip. Ako, ang ginagawa ko, as I've said kanina nga, yung nagdadrive ako mag-isa, and basta mag-drive lang ako, wala akong direction kung saan ako pupunta. Nagdadrive ako, nakikinig ng music, basta mag-isa lang ako. And even right now, ginagawa ko rin pag nag-walk, gusto ko mag-isa lang ako kasi yun na yung me time ko. And yun makakatulong talaga that nakakapag-reflect ka ng magaganda sa life mo, yun. So it's an opportunity for you na mag-reflect sa mga blessings, mag-reflect sa mga things na dapat mong i-reflect, hindi yung kung ano-anong mga negatibo na nasa isipan natin. Yun. So grabe, napaka-powerful yung 5 shinare ni Miss Natalie, right?
So Natalie, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
We're going to ask one last question. Just as experts, we don't want to seem like we have our whole life together.
We're
not perfect. So I'm going to ask, it's not a tough question, but we're all going to answer it if we can.
Okay.
What do you think you need to improve in terms of your own self-care? And since I asked that question, I'll start.
Okay.
So out of the top 5, I'm going to say with alone time is needed, but there's a time where you get so much alone time that you start isolating those that you love. And there needs to be a balance with the alone time and when are you isolating yourself to where you're missing life. You're missing the activities in life, benchmarks that like you can't just have, I need my alone time to the point where you're blocking out the things that you love in life. So that's one thing that I think I need to improve on. And I think Christina knows that I do need my alone time and she needs her alone time. And we help with the kids to give us that. But that's what I need to work on out of those 5 tips. Christina?
Yeah.
What is something you need to
the journaling, sometimes I forget about it because before my goal was to write down every day. Every day I have to write down the things that I'm grateful for, something like that. So sometimes when I just remember about it, then that's what I do. So yeah, this is a reminder for me that I should be doing it like almost like every day. And yeah, that's just it.
Okay.
Well, for me, I think that because we started it and did it so consistently, and then I have not been doing it, I think it's the taking the walk part, because it allowed me both to get self-care and also spend time with my family. That was very positive, and now that things are kind of going back to normal, And now my plate is getting busier and busier and busier and busier. It's one of those things that it's just like, oh, really don't have time to do that. I have so many other things to do. But it did bring such balance, and it did give us, these positive memories. And we had some good talks on those walks, those kind of things. And so just being able to kind of get back to that. And maybe, I do other self-care things, but, it may not happen every day, but just get back to where it happens. And so that's one that I would definitely, work on. And they say self-care is not selfish. And so I feel like, when we do things that it's really about, like, we don't care how it in fact impacts other people, as long as we get what we want, well, then it's not self-care. And I know that my kids like to, get out and, run off some of their own little stressors. So that's what I'm going to work on. We're going to get back to that.
It's good to realize no one's perfect, and everyone needs just slight self-corrections just to get back on track. I just asked that question to show that through your day, you're not going to be perfect, but if you can focus on one of these 5 to apply to your life, you're going to help relieve that anxiety or that stress and help the day go by so much more. So, Natalie, I want to thank you for your time and for doing this and for helping teach Filipinos all around the world right now. Christina, do you want to close?
No, they might ask some questions.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up, and if anyone has a quick question for Miss Natalie, nothing major, but just but we can get back to you in the comments later after this broadcast. But you can comment your question and we can answer them that way. But
yan, sa mga gustong magtanong, you can comment now yung mga questions nyo before I see Miss Natalie. Yan, ang hirap pa lamang ng ganito, no? Mag-English, mag-Tagalog. Ayan, so, i-comment nyo na po yung mga gusto nyong itanong kay Miss Natalie, lalo sa mga, kasi every now and then that I ask them to ask, they just send a message. So, I'm sure they have some questions right now.
And while you guys are looking for questions, they don't have, we don't have to have 50 self-care moments in the day. But as long as we're having those moments where we can balance ourselves and we use them appropriately, then that's how it works, and you're doing really well if you're able to use those self-care moments in the day. You're doing really well.
We were looking forward to that, to hearing your Tagalog that you're practicing.
Oh.
When it feels down, she'll have me recite some Tagalog sentences just to hear the translation and
I don't know if you want me to do that. I don't know if you want me to try that and butcher that beautiful language. I could tell you.
It's a way that she's laughing at me, but it's a good laugh.
Nice.
So, do you speak it fluently, Paul?
I do not, but I can understand when I'm on the topic that she's talking about. There's enough English thrown in that you can follow.
Kind of figure it out.
The words are familiar, and I do know what they mean. It's just, I don't know if it's the American mentality of, I know English, why do I need to learn?
Yeah.
But I mean, I have lived in Tigigaraw for 7 years, and you would think
that you would learn it,
where you could speak it. But,
okay, so how do you say? So Christina, how do you say, like, good evening?
Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi.
Manangandabi.
Magandang gabi. Gabi.
Gabi.
Can you say it?
Magandang gabi.
Magandang gabi. See?
She
tried. That's the reason why I did not attempt this.
I love it. We just love hearing you guys speak our language. I mean, it's funny, but it's really, we love it. That's why some of them are like, oh, you're laughing right now. It's a good laugh because we love hearing Americans speaking our language, especially when I ask him to do some tongue twister on Tagalog. Is
Oh,
that it's really, really funny. And
Well, if you have time, I do see one question in the comments.
sure.
It's saying, how do you balance self-care while being a mom?
Oh, that's such a good question.
yeah.
Because there are so many obligations to being a mom, and most of us really love that, that job of being a mom. So this is when we look into the what is what is important, and timing is everything, right? Because self-care, like I said earlier, doesn't have to be for very, very long periods of time. It can be a couple of minutes here and there throughout the day. I'll give you an example for myself. I have two boys. They're very rowdy, loud. They take up a lot of time and space. And I love them, but sometimes I want to be like, I don't want to hear you anymore. And I think every parent gets to that point. And so it's about finding those moments for yourself, and what can help you take care of yourself. And we used all of the, we gave a couple examples earlier, but that alone time is really important. When I was growing up, my mom used to say, go outside and play. And I realize now that go outside and play was because I need a moment. So being able to just balance it out and understand that we can take care of our children and we can take care of ourselves. It's not you do one or you do the other. You are able to take care of yourself and take care of your children. In fact, you have to do both of them in order to be successful in momhood. So find those moments, plan those moments. Your schedule better than anybody else.
Do you have time for one more question?
How can we maintain positive thinking despite the trials we experience is a good question as well. That's very good. And because a lot of us are experiencing some kind of trial. With self-care, for example, Christina discussed about the importance of reminding ourselves about the good things. Journaling will help you do that, and so being able to look back, when you journal, whether it's daily or every other day, and you're experiencing a trial, sometimes looking back on your own words can give you encouragement and help you realize that you have what it takes to get through that trial. And it may not take away every, hard feeling you have about the trial, but it will bring some balance because it's going to remind you of how strong you are and the things that you've already accomplished and the good things in your life and areas that you can still be grateful for. And that helps with positive thinking, because positive thinking is a huge part of successfully dealing with a trial. If we can maintain positive, healthy thinking, then our trial is something that we can manage better. So journaling will help you do that because you can see in your own writing all those positive things that you've already experienced and all those things that you're grateful for and all the things that you have overcome, in the past, and it reminds you that you can also get through this trial as well. So, and I wish you the best in that, because I know that, we never have a true understanding of the trial that we're in and how long it's going to take to get through it. And there's a lot of things we don't know, but self-care through journaling reminds you of things that you do know, which is you have things to be grateful for and you have things to be positive about. So that's a good self-care activity to do when you're going through a trial.
Well, thank you for that. I think we have some good tools now to how to handle stress, anxiety. We can take control more now that you've given us that. So this being that it's Monday, everyone that's listening, we can try to apply one of those 5 at least. Because if you try to apply all 5, that might be too daunting, or
Right. Overwhelming.
you might be setting yourself up to fail because at the end of the week, I didn't get to do any. So
Right.
just take one of the things and try to incorporate or apply that to this week. And then next week, maybe you can do 2.
That's
It's
right.
going to be to the point where it becomes a habit, and you're going to see your outlook on life will improve.
Absolutely.
So with that, we're gonna thank you so much for your time you've given us.
Thank
I know
you. It
start
was fun.
of your work week,
Thank
and
you.
now you can add international trainer and consultant to your bio. When you go, we're going to give everyone ways that they can stay connected to you through. You have you have Instagram, you have a Facebook account. We'll give them that when you go, so that they can stay connected. They can follow some. There's going to be other tips, things.
Oh, absolutely.
As a therapist, we really want to stress that we appreciate that you did this for us. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to close her out to
Yeah, thank you so much, Natalie, for being with us today. And we really learned a lot. And some of the comments says that they're very inspired and
Oh, good.
learned a lot. Thank you so much. And I know that you're gonna start your day already, so we won't take much of your time already. Okay,
So with that, we're gonna give you a great week that is productive and is blessed, and that God does bless you for the time you invested in our lives. We really appreciate it. Thank Wayne for just being a great husband and
He is.
smile on your face, and that your kids, they stay energetic and they stay who they are, but they do it in a positive way.
Right.
Because I know we have 2 boys too, and it's like, are you talking about our kids or your kids? All right. So thanks again. We free you to start your